the second half of the 19th century. Heidi is a young orphan, whose upbringing was handled by her Aunt Diet. But, apparently, her worries about the child became a burden, and she decided to take her niece to her. There are various rumors about the man. Allegedly, he became so wild that he even forgot how to speak. And he certainly won't be happy with another mouth at the table. The girl got hot, and she took off her dress to run with the animals. In one shirt, Heidi appeared in front of her grandfather, who was busy chopping wood. Detta says that she has found a job in the city, and she can't take the girl with her. "Get out, and take her with you," says the gloomy grandfather. The woman really ran away, but she left the girl at home, promising that the old man would not do anything bad to her. Heidi doesn't know what to do now. It turns out that no one needs it. Alpoha locked himself in the house, leaving his granddaughter on the street. There's nothing to do. Heidi went to the barn with her things, and spent the night there next to the goat. In the morning, the grandfather silently went into the room, fed milk, and gave it to his granddaughter to drink. He's going to take the girl to the pastor to figure out what to do with her. The pastor probed Heidi, looked at her teeth, and concluded that the child is strong and healthy, which means there will be no problems with him. But Alpoha is still not going to keep Heidi. Well, maybe some other farmer will be interested in her. But the pastor will go to town only in 3 days, so she will still have to stay with her grandfather temporarily. Well, at least today, he would let her stay in the house. However, there is only one chair and one bed inside. The girl was not upset. She is glad to have an attic with hay. The next morning began with fresh milk and acquaintance with a young shepherd named Peter. Today, they will go together to graze the scythes. The boy grows up without a father. Heidi says that she likes it here much more than in the village, because when she lived with her aunt, she stayed at home all day. While the girl was running around the meadow, Peter secretly took a bite of sausage and cheese, which grandfather put Heidi with him. At the same time, he blames the goat for everything. Here, two horned animals grappled. Peter began to beat them. Then Heidi offered the boy to give him half of his food, if he would not beat the scythe at the same time. Later, Peter told the girl that, according to rumors, her grandfather had killed someone. Heidi decided that in this case, it would be safer for her to sleep in the barn. Alpoha guessed that Peter was talking about him today. But these are all dirty rumors, and Heidi should not trust them. The girl hugged her grandfather and ran to her attic. The next day, Alpoha took out carpentry tools and started making something. Heidi tells Peter that her grandfather will take her to the pastor tomorrow. But when she came back, she saw the second chair that Grandpa had made for her. The happy girl realized that she could stay here and continue to have fun with Peter. However, summer is over, and Peter will no longer graze the scythes until next spring. He will go to school. Heidi came to the village with her grandfather. Everyone looks at Alpoha with apprehension and discontent. They met the pastor again, and he insists that the girl must go to school and learn to read. This is what Heidi herself would like, but grandfather has his own views on life. The child is bored and wants spring to come as soon as possible, and her friend Peter has returned here. To amuse her granddaughter, Alpoha rides her on a sled and brings her to Peter's house. The boy himself is still at school. Heidi meets his mother and blind grandmother. Finally, Peter also came. The family lives very poorly. Instead of cheese and sausage, they eat boiled potatoes and stale bread. Spring has come. Diet unexpectedly returned to the village. And when she arrived at Alpoha, she said that she had found a place for Heidi in the house of a rich family. They will go to school together with their daughter. But this time, there will be no Alpoha. He doesn't want to let go of his granddaughter. The children heard that the old man does not let the girl go to school. If necessary, she will call the villagers, and they will take Heidi away from Alpoha by force. Diet found her niece and tells her that she can live in a big beautiful house. Rich parents are looking for their daughter. But Heidi wants to stay. Then the child lied that the grandfather also wants the girl to go with her. The woman doesn't even give her a chance to say goodbye to Peter. The old man realized that he had been tricked. He wanted to stop his niece in time, but she had already left the village. The townspeople laugh at Alpoha, and he barely holds back tears. Heidi looks sadly at the alpine mountains she loves. Soon the girl found herself in noisy Frankfurt. Her aunt took her to the Seesman mansion. The huge building is teeming with servants. First, Heidi will introduce the governess. The strict woman decided that the girl was too small, and her name was somehow not Christian. But Detta assures that she is exactly what the owner wanted, not a spoiled girl from the village, and she can't wait to get her payment. Aunt just sold her niece. Heidi met a girl, Clara, who cannot walk, and is confined to a wheelchair. Heidi rolled Clara around the room, and immediately broke the vase. The blonde lied that it was her fault. During lunch, Heidi began to slurp soup straight from the plate. She doesn't know how to use cutlery, and she hid one of the buns in her pocket. The governess teaches the girl in a good manner, and tells her according to what schedule she will now live. But Heidi had already dozed off, and did not hear the woman. The next morning, the maid bathes Heidi, and rubs her with a stiff brush. Then she puts on a smart dress. Clara helps her get used to it, and shows her how to handle cutlery. But reading is a real problem. Heidi doesn't even know the letters. This angered the teacher and the governess. How this wild and untrained creature ended up in our house, the woman is indignant. She's going to ask Mr. Seesman to bring the girl back to the mountains. Clara asked Heidi to bring her to her mother's room. In the picture they are depicted together. Moreover, Clara is drawn standing. The fact is that she got sick after her mother died. Dad is constantly on the road for work, and she is forever stuck in this house. During a quiet hour, Heidi asked Sebastian's servant to open the window. She really hoped to see the mountains, but they are too far away from here. Fidget decided to take Clara for a ride through the streets of the city, and at the same time, climb a tower from which you could see her favorite mountains. She left Clara right in the middle of the market square. The governess discovered that Fräulein had disappeared somewhere, as had her new friend. Even after climbing the tower, Heidi could not see the mountains. She misses her grandfather very much. At the same time, Clara was offered to buy a kitten for a couple of pennies. But she couldn't resist and bought all the kittens. Sebastian finally found the girls. In the mansion, the governess reads them out. Suddenly she started sneezing non-stop. It turned out that the woman is allergic to cats. She panicked and demanded to remove the kittens. Sebastian promised to take care of the animals. As punishment, the governess left Heidi without dinner and put her in a corner. The next time she threatens to lock the girl in a closet with rats. Heidi managed to collect a whole roll of buns. She changed her clothes and was about to leave the house. But the governess stopped her. The child lied to the girl that she would be able to return to the mountains at any time she wanted. And she collected buns for her toothless grandmother, who could not chew stale bread. Clara began to cry because she no longer has friends. The girl does not leave her room, she is not well. Heidi herself came to the offended friend. "I have only you," says Clara, "and we could have a great time together." Studying is hard for Heidi. She can't learn the letters in any way. All the servants lined up in a row. Gsponer came home with his mother. The woman's character is much softer than the governess and asks Heidi to call her grandmother. My father noticed that Clara became more joyful with her friend. But the governess claims that the girl is not in her right mind. She doesn't know the letters, prevents Clara from studying, and her behavior is completely wild. Grandma does not believe her word, she will personally look at the behavior of the mountain girl. The woman went to the trick, and, without finishing reading Heidi a fairy tale before going to bed, offered to do it. Now, if she could read, she herself would be able to find out how it ended. The countess tells her son that Heidi is a sweet girl, and she will learn to read, the main thing is to interest her. But she is not very happy here, life in the house is not for her. However, according to Gsponer, this is not important. The main thing is that Clara is happy. When the maid stole the master's wine at night, she heard strange frightening sounds. Together with the governess, they decided that it was a ghost. Sebastian found that the front door was open. But who did it? All the servants believe that something supernatural had a hand in this. The girl really quickly learned to read, to the delight of the teacher and the Sesemann family. The father promises Clara that she will stay with them forever. Upon learning this, Heidi burst into tears at night. Soon my grandmother left the estate, and the governess became the main teacher again. Gsponer and the doctor heard strange noises at night and took up pistols to repel the uninvited ghost. But it turned out that it was Heidi. She walks in her sleep and goes out into the yard to look into the distance, towards the mountains. Gsponer found another mountain of buns. The girl woke up and says that she dreamed of her grandfather. She burst into tears. The doctor realized that she was depressed, homesick, and for the Alps. The next day, Gsponer was forced to tell his daughter about it. But Clara doesn't agree. She is also sick and also lonely. Clara yelled at her friend and told her to get out. Heidi will be taken home to his grandfather today. She wanted to talk to Clara, but the sad girl did not open the door for her. A whole basket of buns was collected for Heidi. She asked me to give Clara the eagle that her grandfather had carved for her. Sebastian took Heidi to her native village. The locals are studying the girl's rich wardrobe. Peter immediately ran up to his girlfriend. Finally, Heidi presented buns, which a toothless woman can now grind. And Peter received sausages as a gift. Alpaca heard his beloved granddaughter calling him and ran to meet her. The old man was incredibly glad to have her back. Just like Heidi, I am glad to return to my usual business in the mountains. She drinks milk, grazes braids, eats simple food, and walks with Peter. Heidi writes letters to Clara. In the winter, she and her grandfather moved to the village so that she could go to school. The pastor is much stricter than Clara's teacher. When students are asked who they want to become when they grow up, they answer as a shepherd, a blacksmith, or a peasant. Heidi says she wants to write fairy tales. This makes children laugh. Heidi studies with Peter after school, but studying is not easy for him. The girl really misses her girlfriend. And now Clara regrets that she didn't say goodbye to Heidi. And Grandma pulled off the incredible. She brought her granddaughter to visit a mountain girl. No longer so unsociable, Alpaca poured moonshine for the noble guests and agreed that Clara would stay with them for a few days. Heidi introduced her friend to the goats and Peter, who was shy to approach for a long time. And he is also jealous of Heidi, who no longer goes to the pasture with him. Now Heidi teaches Clara rural etiquette at the table. Peter angrily decided to mess up and rolled a wheelchair, which fell off a cliff and shattered into pieces. Clara is worried about the fact that she will now have to sit still all day. Alpaca guessed that this was the work of Peter. He brought the sick girl on his shoulders right to the pasture. Dementia is your punishment, he tells Patero. The old man ordered him to look after the girls and left. The boy is still sulking, and Heidi has gone to pick berries. Clara was left alone. A butterfly landed on her foot and flew away. The girl didn't notice when she suddenly got up and almost followed her. With the support of Heidi and Peter, she was able to take a few steps. The next day, she managed to do it herself. Gsponer came to the mountains for his daughter. He's furious. Grandma brought Clara here without his permission. But he was speechless when he saw that his daughter was coming to meet him without anyone's help. It's just unbelievable. Grandma brought Heidi a gift. A book, though without words. Heidi will fill out the pages herself. It is important that local children laugh at her desire to write fairy tales. They saw nothing but this village, and she saw another world. If something brings joy, then you need to do it. The girlfriends said goodbye, and Clara went to her town, and Heidi returned to the goats, and his usual life in the Alps to freedom.